Welcome to the Texas Values Report. This is Jonathan Sines, president of Texas Values. Great to be with you on another glorious week in the state of Texas. I'm just now thawing out from a couple of cold days here in Central Texas, but I'll be walking over to the Capitol soon. So, I'm going to need to put on a couple of extra layers out there. And look, we have members of our team at the Capitol every day during the legislative session when the House and the Senate gavel in. We're the only faith and family organization that has someone on site every day during the state legislative session. Our office is literally across the street from the state capitol. So if you're ever in town and you want to find out what's going on at the Capitol, feel free to stop by our office at 1005 Congress, Suite 830. A lot of times we're not there, but someone may be there. But if you'll let us know ahead of time, we can meet you there and walk over to the Capitol, or we can meet you at the Capitol. While we're at the Capitol, you just want to come over to the state Texas Capitol, we'll meet you somewhere on site. As a matter of fact, that's what I did yesterday. I had a good friend of mine texted me on Tuesday that somebody that they're working with or a member of their family was at the Capitol. And so we met up yesterday in the Capitol Cafe. That's a lot of times where meetings happen in the extension, which is the first underground floor on the north side of the Capitol. You can't really see it. It's not a part of the main Capitol building. I guess that's why they call it the extension. But it is a part of the Capitol grounds, and there's a lot of activity that happens in the extension, including legislative hearings, committee hearings. I would say most of the office of the House and Senate members, primarily House members, are in the extension. So just heads up on that. The cafe, Capitol Cafe, is on, the floor is called E1, which stands for Extension 1, but it's really the first floor below ground. And then if you go down one more floor, that's called E2. So it sort of goes in reverse, if you will, in numbers as you go down, if you're with me. Maybe we'll put up a little graphic of that later. As a matter of fact, we're almost done with Texas Values University. This is our online portal, our online training program of all things Texas, legislative, policy issues, the process, the laws, the background, faith, family, and freedom, what you need to know about religious freedom, save women's sports, the pro-life issue, a lot of good stuff. And what we're about to release is phase one. Okay, this is just the beginning of a project that's going to go on for many years. We're going to add elements to it, but we want to get going with it with sort of the main pieces. So that's TexasValuesUniversity.com is the website. You can't log on yet, but you can go ahead and check that website to see what's about to launch. Super excited about that. So, if I could calm the storm of other things going on with our work for a few minutes, I could be a part of finishing that process as well. But we were supposed to have a guest today, Dr. Haim. This is the doctor who was facing 10 years in prison from the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, the weaponized, if you will, Department of Justice, the lawfare that was going on against a lot of our friends and a lot of our values. And Dr. Haim is a Texas doctor. He's a physician. Now, at the time that this issue started, he was completing his residency at Texas Children's Hospital. Texas Children's Hospital at the time was saying, we're not doing any type of processes, procedures, or anything related to kids that are going through sex change operations, puberty blockers, and things of that nature. And the reason they felt the need to tell people that publicly is because people were starting to look into this issue. Our Attorney General, we were in the process of passing a law on this issue for kids, protection for kids. So there was some chatter out there that people were doing this, and Texas Children's Hospital said, we don't do any of those kind of things. Turns out they do, and they were. Now, they shouldn't be doing it anymore, but during the time, it was very important that someone came forward. Dr. Haim was a resident at the time, and he noticed that it was still happening. And to his shock and disbelief, to have Texas Children's Hospital say there weren't when he saw clear evidence that they were. So he came forward very courageously, right? He was brave about this because you can imagine if you're trying to finish your residency, you're trying to finish one of the most important steps of your medical career, and now you're going to go ahead and step into the spotlight with yourself or push the hospital in the spotlight. But, he felt an obligation to do it, and God bless him. I mean, we count on people like that. And I know a little bit about what that's like to be in such a setting, right? Y'all hear me talk about this from time to time, that when I was a law student, I sued my university to protect the free speech rights of the pro-life organization that I was leading. So I was public enemy number one. My picture was on the front page of the school newspaper. There were a lot of people that weren't happy with me at the university. I did have some support among some alumni and a few of my fellow students. But, look, I know what that was like. And if I'd have lost, they might have kicked me out of school. I mean, they were threatening to kick other people out of school. It's not an easy situation to be in, and it takes a lot of courage. And it takes standing on principle, but sometimes there can be a price to pay. And one of the prices to pay is that the Biden administration came down on Dr. Haim, the Department of Justice, and had criminal indictment against him. He had to go to court a few times. They had not gotten to the phase yet where they were trying to convict him, but they were getting pretty close. And so, there was some concern that, as the days were adding up, and we were getting close to the change of power between the Biden administration and President Trump, that he was going to end up in jail. Now, this was in a federal court in Houston. So, long story short, if you will, because there's a lot more to say about it, just in the nick of time, President Trump gets elected, gets into office, and let's just say there were some people that were encouraging folks close to the president to drop the criminal charges against him, including myself and Texas Values. And that's exactly what happened. So within about 2 weeks of the Trump administration being sworn in and being in office and getting some people in place, the Department of Justice filed a official motion in court to drop the charges against Dr. Haim. The judge signed off on that. He's a free man. And so, but facing 10 years in prison is no joke. I mean, any time in prison is not something that I think any of us would be excited about. But you can imagine 10 years, his daughter had just been born, all the things you miss. So he cannot be on the show today, but we're going to have an opportunity to interview him soon. And so there was just some logistical things that came up, and I'm not going to get all the details. But we're rescheduling that, and we're going to have that available. And he apologizes. He's going to come on with us. There was just a timing issue that came up last minute that we had to deal with. So I'm talking a little bit about it because even without him here, we know that the importance of this issue. But do not be discouraged. You can see Dr. Haim at our Faith and Family Day, March 6th. That is the Texas Values Faith and Family Day. Well, it's Texas Faith and Family. There are other organizations involved, but it's the big day at the Capitol on the issues. And we got to make sure there aren't other people like Dr. Haim that are whistleblowers that have threats of these type of things come against them, because we need the truth to come forward. So he's going to be a part of our Texas Faith and Family Day on March 6th. Still time to get your tickets. And I say tickets, it's $5 to attend. The reason we're charging you $5 is because it includes a box lunch from Chick-fil-A. Do you know how much a Chick-fil-A box lunch costs? It costs more than $5, okay? So we're just trying to offset a little bit of our costs, because these events are not free for us, right? We've got staff there. We've got, things that we print. We've got people traveling. There's all kinds of things that we have to do that do cost money for us to put this event on, but it's not about that for us. We're not trying to generate a bunch of revenue with these events. We're really just trying to offset our costs, and we're really, $5 is not going to cover our cost per person for this event, but it helps a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of motivation to make a commitment to make it to this event. And you're going to get lunch and a lot of other stuff through the day that'll be of extreme value. Some things you can't put a price on. Like seeing Dr. Haim at the event is going to be absolutely extraordinary. Hearing him live talk about his testimony and what he went through and why it's important for people like you to get involved. March 6th is going to be at the state capitol primarily, but there's two parts of the day. The morning is from like 9 to noon, including lunch. The second part of the day from 1 to 4. So the morning session is going to be at the Texas Public Policy Foundation building. They've got a great auditorium with a lot of space. 901 Congress is the location for that. So from 9 to noon, we're going to walk through some of the issues. What are the big bills? Like HB 3. The House has now filed their piece of legislation on the school choice issue. So we're going to have different members of the legislature. Lieutenant Governor Patrick is going to be there. He is confirmed to come over and speak. That's 2 blocks from the Capitol. Easy trip for him to come over, if you will, a short trip. Senator Angela Paxton is going to be one of our featured speakers. She is working on a piece of legislation, Senate Bill 13, that is a major priority for parental rights and for our values in public schools that Texas Values is supporting. We've got Representative Ellen Troxclair. We've got Representative Hillary Hicklin, Brian Harrison, Representative Tom Oliverson, who is the chairman of the House Republican Caucus. That's a key leadership position. So a lot of great people. Some other great organizations that are participating in this event with us: Christians Engage and Bunny Pounds. We've got Texas Pastor Council, Pastor Dave Welch. Our Church Ambassador Network of Texas, TexCan, our church outreach effort as a part of Texas Values. Also, Concerned Women for America of Texas, a lot of other great groups. Go to the website. You'll see all their logos and all that good stuff. But the website for the event is texasfaithandfamily.com. If you forget that, just go to our main website, texasvalues.org. You can see a link for that. And in some parts of the state, Dallas and Houston, you can get a bus. You can get on a bus that we've already reserved for you. And that's an additional charge to get on the bus. Obviously, it's a little bit more there, but it's extremely cheap, if you will. I mean, it's a very low cost. I think it's $30, and that includes your lunch. So you pay $30 if you're going to take the bus. You get a bus ride, and you get lunch. I mean, you can hardly get across town and buy lunch for $30. We're going to bring you all the way from Dallas or Houston. I need to check on the locations. I think the location in Houston is Grace Woodlands up there on North 45, close to the Woodlands area. That is Steve Riggle's church. I think we're going to be at Prestonwood up in the Dallas area. Don't get mad at me if that's not confirmed, but I know we're looking at somewhere in the Plano area for that bus. But check out the website, texasfaithandfamily.com. Look, I say it all the time. Government belongs to those who show up. Please come to this event. Bring some people with you. Bring some kids. You know, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to learn a lot, okay? We're going to get you right in the middle of what's happening. So let me finish the event. Sorry about that. The first half of the day in the morning, you're going to meet some elected officials. You're going to hear about some big bills and issues. You're going to hear from some other groups. This is what's going on. This is how the process works, all that good stuff. Then we're going to have lunch. And then we're going to walk 2 blocks up to the Capitol, and we're going to have you matched up. Go meet with your House member, your Senate member, their staff. There might be a major committee hearing. As a matter of fact, I'm getting some inside information, okay, some expert intel. That's why it helps to be at the Capitol every day. You hear things that there could be a huge committee hearing that week on one of our key issues, and it might end up being on that Thursday. That's what happened 2 years ago. If you came to Faith and Family Day 2 years ago, man, talk about, like, I don't know, it's hard to top that one. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not saying we can't, but 2 years ago, okay, check this out, all right? I don't remember the date, but it was in March. It was on a Monday, okay? And this was 2 years ago, so did everybody know Riley Gaines? Maybe not, but a lot of people did. I mean, she was starting to get pretty popular. This is the collegiate swimmer from Kentucky who's gone on to lead the Save Women's Sports issue. I probably don't even need to tell you who she is now, right? You're like, oh, we know Riley Gaines, right? She was forced to compete against a male athlete who's actually from Austin Westlake High School here in the Central Texas area, but at the time he was competing for the University of Pennsylvania swimming team, and they tied in a race. They gave the trophy to Will Thomas. He was calling himself Leah Thomas at the time. You know a lot about that story probably if you're staying up to date with our work. But we were in the process of passing a state law on this issue at the collegiate level to protect collegiate athletes in the state of Texas from having men compete against them in women's sports. All right, so we had already passed a law like that for K through 12 the 2 years before that, but we came back to get the college protection. And so we had invited Riley to come. So I don't know, 2 weeks before we confirmed, I don't remember exactly the timing on that, but she was scheduled to appear, and she did. So she came to our Faith and Family Day, and there was a lot of attention around the issue, and we had a rally because we're trying to get a lot more focus on that issue. There was a lot of excitement. All right, things lined up really well. So we found out like 4 or 5 days before that the committee hearing in the Senate on this bill was going to be on the same day of our event. Man, you talk about really being fortunate and how excited. And a great opportunity for people to see firsthand. This is how all this stuff works. This is what a committee hearing looks like. This is why you're here. This isn't, a hypothetical or this is a practice run. Boom, you're in the middle of the actual game, right? This is sort of like almost like the Super Bowl of some of our type of work. And I can't, we could try to recreate that, but there's nothing like experiencing what it's like to be there on the day when those things are happening, and they're extremely important. As a matter of fact, it also helped drive a lot of interest. Governor Abbott's team called us. We had invited Governor Abbott to come to the event. He wasn't able to make it. We were trying to get him to meet with Riley Gaines, and those things had not been confirmed yet. But when all the thing came into focus, like on Sunday afternoon, we got a call from Governor Abbott's office. Hey, is Riley available to come over on Monday when she's here to the governor's mansion? Sure. And we'll walk over there to make sure she gets there. So myself and Mary Elizabeth Castle, our government relations director, walked Riley over there, and Governor Abbott was fantastic. I mean, he knew exactly what was going on with the issue, why it was important. But that meeting was a huge part of this process and journey to get the legislation passed. When the governor starts talking about your issue, as you see with school choice and other things, a lot of other people hear about it, and it really goes a long way to get things done when you know the governor is not only supportive, but he's vocally supportive on social media and all kinds of great stuff. It was an absolutely extraordinary day. Then the lieutenant governor comes out with Riley at the rally we were doing. So did a lot of other great members of the legislature. And when we walked through the Capitol with her, I mean, she was like a celebrity, but not in a, sort of a surfacey way. There were legislators that were like, wow, she's here. She's so important to this issue. We want to connect with her and encourage her, right? But my point is, all that happened on Faith and Family Day on March of 2023, and when we did this the last time. One day can absolutely be a game changer on one of our issues, okay? So I don't know what's going to happen on March 6th, but I'm telling you, it is very likely that something extraordinary that we don't already know is happening is going to be like a day you'll never forget. And I'm going to tell you, if you ask some of those people that were there that day, that got to meet Riley, that got to experience putting their name on the official journal, because we helped everybody sign up, and some people testified, but a lot of people didn't in favor of the bill. They simply put their name on there saying, I'm for the bill. You can come to the Capitol. You don't have to be in the spotlight. You don't have to be in front of this microphone like I'm at all the time, and everybody asking you hard questions and so on in the media there. You could simply sign up on the legislature's system, and you can only do that within inside the Capitol. You can't be at home, in Rockwall, Texas, and sign up that you're in favor of a bill. It doesn't work that way. You've got to be in the building or somewhere very close. It typically means you've got to be in the building to catch the Wi-Fi and sign your name up. But you can put your name on that official list of saying, I'm in favor of the Save Women's Sports Bill, and that will always be there. You're a part of history, and it's also something that other people look at to see, is there a lot of support for the issue? So I'm just telling you, this is going to be an incredible event. All right. Texas Faith and Family Day is March 6th. That is a Thursday. It's the week before spring break for a lot of folks. But I know the Senate's going to have some business that day, and they're going to be there. We're going to have a lot of great people come over. We've invited Speaker Dustin Burrows. I saw him yesterday at the Texas Legislative Prayer Breakfast. He did not say, yes, I'll be there, Jonathan. He said, great, thanks for letting me know. Keep my staff. If we do get him confirmed at some point, we'll let you know. Now, listen, I know there's some people, a lot of our supporters, that are not real happy with Dustin Burrows, or they don't really have a good impression of him. That's fine. Listen, part of the goal of this event is to bring the people that are in leadership position, that are involved in making decisions on our issues in front of you and in connection with you, right? For you to see them, hear what they have to say. So that's what we're doing, right? We've invited the governor as well. We haven't got a confirmation from him either, but we do have a confirmation from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. And so I think it would be incredibly valuable if Speaker Dustin Burrows comes over to our event, and it's designed just for them to be there for a couple of minutes. Hi, I'm Speaker Dustin Burrows. Can I answer any questions? These are the issues I think are important for this session. Thanks for being here and seeing the value in faith and family issues and coming over the Capitol, right? This isn't a sit-down dinner and some benefit fundraising lunch where they go on for 30 minutes. Or it's not a panel that they're going to sit on, and we're going to ask a bunch of questions. They come to the podium, they say a few things, talk about some of the bills they're working on, and that allows us to get a lot of people through there, for you to see a lot of faces, and for those people to get some visibility too with a huge crowd. But we're going to do that because that's part of that day, getting them in touch, getting you in touch with them, getting them in touch with you, and them seeing that there are a lot of people across the state that care about these issues and having the conversations, right? We got to have some conversations on some of these issues to let people know how important they are. And I will tell you, the voice of a constituent goes much further than my voice. As great as I might think I am at what I do, and, how successful or whatever, our organization, we feel like we're experts, we know how to get things done, and we do, okay? Don't get me wrong. There's a key part of this equation that we're involved in, but the reality is an elected official is more likely to listen to a constituent than me, right? That's why I want you there, because I know you share our values, but I want these members to say, it's not just me. There's people that live in your district. You know, I was out in Parker County last week. There were 150, 200 people at an incredible meeting of the Parker County Conservatives, and I was so fortunate to speak to them, right? They're fired up about a lot of the issues that we care about. But, and look, there's good members out there, Senator Phil King, but I'm sure when he hears from them, it probably sticks with him a little bit more than when he hears from me, and that's fine. I mean, I know he and I are friends, and we're colleagues, and he has a lot of respect and support for our work, but my point is, your voice as a constituent is incredibly valuable, right? I'm going to be here every day, but if just one day during the legislative session, you can be here and your House or Senate member can hear from you, I'm telling you, it's something they typically don't forget. So don't take that for granted. We've tried to make it easy. A bus in Dallas, a bus in Houston. You know, I mean, if somebody wants to help make a donation, we'll put a bus together in San Antonio and other parts of the state. But these things can add up, all right? So I try to not take too much risk with our finances. And some people may want the convenience of driving on their own. They can leave when they want and, you know, stay with a friend, whatever you want to do, those kind of things. There is a bus coming out of Fredericksburg through the Fredericksburg Tea Party with Matt Long. I'm not in control of that bus. He's dealing with it. If you want to reach out with him, he may have some seats. But thank you, Matt Long, for doing that. But look, things are starting to pick up a lot. I mentioned I was at the legislative prayer breakfast yesterday. By the way, for those of us that, you know, are Gen Xers and I don't know, Gen Y or whatever, you know, all the Gen Z, Darryl Strawberry is one of the most famous and really successful baseball players for his era and his time. He was the keynote speaker at the legislative prayer breakfast yesterday, which primarily is House and Senate members, some staffers, you know, some folks that do work around the Capitol, some issue groups like us. So we sponsored a table there. Our great and dear friend, Representative Matt Shaheen, is leading this effort now. Scott Sanford really was leading it before he left the legislature. And so just a huge turnout. But to hear Darryl Strawberry's testimony, I mean, this guy was a superstar in baseball in the mid 80s, second half of the 80s, and then a little bit in the 90s. And then he made a comeback, right? I think he said yesterday, I didn't realize this, he's got 4 World Series championships. As a part of teams, you know, he was with the Mets, and I think later on he was with the Yankees and probably a couple of other teams in between. But I got to see the ring that he has where his number was retired. Wow. And I asked him, was it the World Series ring? He goes, no, this is the ring I was given when my number was retired. When your number's retired, okay, that means you're a pretty big deal in a particular sports, and he certainly was in baseball. But he made some tough choices in his life that really hurt him. And he got separated from some of those things, got himself in a good place, and, you know, really strengthened his relationship with Christ. And that's a lot what he talked about yesterday. But there were a lot of elected officials there talking about different issues. We got to see Senator Brian Hughes, spent a little bit of time with him. Senator Angela Paxson was at our table, talked about some really important issues, as well as State Representative Richard Hayes. Got to say hello to Senator Lois Colcourse. And a lot of great people. By the way, on our Texas Faith and Family Day, we have invited Riley to come. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to see her at the Capitol later today. She's up there for another event. And, you know, we'll let you know if that gets confirmed, because that'd be a huge update to Texas Faith and Family Day on March 6th. A lot of discussion, though, about not only the sports issue, but what's happening to women now in locker rooms. And I don't want to say now, it's been going on. This is a key area that hasn't been finished, right? It's sort of how to close the loop on this issue and, you know, some unfinished business. There was a lot of focus on the sports issue. We got to deal with that first. We got to make sure women are protected. And that's not the case across the country. President Trump has put out an executive order on this, but we know some places like California and others, they're resisting it. And, you know, there's certain states that don't have the state protection to protect women from having men compete against them in sports like we do in Texas. So that's still getting done. But now that we've accomplished that in Texas, we need to make sure that, you know, in the locker rooms, the showers, the other private spaces, and not just in sports and not just in public schools and libraries and things of that nature, swimming pools, you name it. What about the prison system, right? Where you have men that are going into the women's prison and getting and complicating that issue, attacking women, raping them at some point. Also the women's shelters. If you know anything about domestic violence, right? Very difficult issue, very traumatizing issue. You know, an issue that is really a lot of times just about, being safe, right? To preserve your life, right? And to not be attacked by a man in these women's shelters, right? So you've got men that are going to the women's shelters trying to convince people that they're a woman and then attacking women and traumatizing them again. So we gotta deal with those issues, but just because we've settled this issue on the sports issue we should have in Texas doesn't mean you're not going to have athletes from other states come into our state and think, oh, I can go into the girls' locker room. Or I'm not competing in the sports. I'm just here to unchange and undress. That's related to it. It's really the same issue in many ways. So we got to close that loophole. We're talking a lot about that at Faith and Family Day. There's been some tremendous bills that have already been filed on this issue, and we're going to be leading this effort along with conscience protection, right? We see what happened to Dr. Haim. We see what's happening to people in the medical field, even though abortion is illegal in the state of Texas, people that are trying to put pressure on them, that are trying to force them to do things that go against their beliefs. It's a sex change operation. Training. You can't even do this stuff in Texas, but now you're going to try to force them to go through this training and be hostile to their career and try to bring negative action against them and sort of skirting around the state law. Oh, we're a part of this local association. We're a part of this other group over here, or this is our private business, so we can tell you what you have to do in these circumstances. So we're going to talk about all that, though, on Texas Faith and Family Day, March 6th. It's going to be an incredible event. Texas Values University is going to be being released soon. A lot of important things happening. I'm going to be at the Texas Public Policy Foundation event, their Texas Policy Summit. Brooke Rollins was here yesterday. Wow. This is the current Secretary of Agriculture. She just got sworn in or passed her nomination and got sworn in. And then she was the former head of Texas Public Policy Foundation. They had a lunch yesterday with Governor Abbott. By the way, I should do just a whole segment on this alone, but one of the most fun moments that I've seen this year and maybe for quite some time is Greg Sindlar, who I believe is an Aggie, made some kind of, deal, whatever you want to call it, with Governor Abbott about the Texas versus Texas A&M game that was right around Thanksgiving when the Longhorns and Aggies played in football once again, right? They renewed that rivalry this year. So apparently if the Longhorns won, Greg had agreed to put on this burnt orange, blazer. I don't know when he was supposed to do it. But anyway, apparently that was supposed to happen yesterday, and it did. So when Governor Abbott comes up to talk, he reminded Greg of that. And so he put on this Longhorn jacket, and then Governor Abbott went into singing "The Eyes of Texas," at least sort of the first verse. And I had a great time enjoying that, just so you know. I don't know about the Aggies in the room, but it's fun to see some of that happen and seeing some good camaraderie. But that's a huge event. Lieutenant Governor Patrick speaking at that event today. I think it's a 3 or 4 day event at lunch. I'm going to head over there. Listen, too much to talk about in 25, 26 minutes. Go to our website, go to our social media channels, and if you see value in our work, please consider a tax-deductible donation. That's how we get the work done. That's how we protect faith, family, and freedom in Texas. And we'll talk to you next week on the Texas Values Report.